live in a city like more so like Los Angeles or New York,
Hmm.
more so Los Angeles. I think Los Angeles is notorious for this. And if LA people are mad about it, I'm like, sorry, now the stray dogs are in here. So
If the LA
there,
people are mad about it, we could have a
if
little conversation.
we can have a Bay Area LA fight, but if people look at you and they go, "Oh, that's Eric. He's published on blah blah blah." That's how they introduce you, and so now it's like, who are you on the ladder of success? Are you worthy of my time to talk to? And so you do find yourself sometimes surrounded by people that want to hang out with you because they may perceive you as someone that can help them get their thing off the ground, whatever
Hmm.
their thing
Yes.
is. And
Yes.
to me, that can cause another kind of alienation. Um, have you suffered from that in being an artist?
Yeah, I wouldn't say, complain or say that I've suffered from it. I've definitely experienced it on both ends. Approaching art when I was younger, artists who were more established and successful, even just to ask them to write a blurb for the back cover of my book. There's that. And then on the other side of the coin, I've experienced being contacted by people younger than me or older than me, but just who hadn't reached success, and they're asking me to blurb their book or to illustrate, to do the artwork for their graphic novel. They're going to write it, and they want me to do the artwork for it because I'm already kind of a known quantity. Uh, so many of these, this aspect of fame is double-edged, right? It's double-edged. In a way, one of the good things about fame is you're reaching a lot of people. Then you have influence. That is, if the content of your music or the lyrics of your music or your visual art is about something you care strongly about, you want to be communicating to people. And I just think of art. Art is just a language. Artwork is just a means of communication for me. It's more of that than it is what we're always taught from childhood, that it's a means of expression. We're expressing ourselves. Yeah, 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 yeah. But that's not why I want to be communicating specific ideas and things, and I don't want it to be too abstract. I want people to understand what it is that I'm communicating on the other
And,
end.
and now
I
we're
don't
getting
want
to the
people to just interpret it however they want. People are going to read into it anyway. And for
exactly.
that very reason, I'm trying to have as much clarity as possible. But these, some of these subjects we're getting into now are deep, and I don't have any ultimate answers, but they're excellent questions that I made a point of including in this story. In this particular book, I've done a few other graphic novels, but this one is really about not just the painter, but also there's an artist, a visual artist, a musician, a street dancer, whose mother was a poet up in the Bronx. It's
Yeah.
really a group of bohemian artists, and what they're learning they all have in common, even though each one of them is on a different rung on the ladder. you know. But what all of them are realizing is that it's getting damn near impossible to survive as artists in the 21st century. If they could survive and make food or have a day job, but we're talking about, is it possible to survive as an artist, to have that be your full-time job? Most of the artists I know, maybe they teach art, or they're
Yep.
music teachers or something.
Yep.
And there's no shame in that. In fact,
Yeah.
maybe that's even a higher calling. Being a teacher, God knows, is an art form unto itself. But if you're working a day job or washing dishes so that you could come home and compose your music, not that there's anything morally wrong with it. Hey, maybe it just gives you even more of a connection to the rest of humanity and deeper understanding of the human condition. But it does mean that you have less time to devote to your art. You're not able to be working on your art full time. if you have a full-time day job. So that's, you know, that's one of the contradictions that I'm getting into in the story. And in the first chapter with Isabel, she's playing her music on the streets. She's playing her music down in subway platforms with her pork pie hat upside down, people tossing coins into the hat. She's making a few bucks a day, but not enough to pay the rent or pay for food. So that's why she's desperate and has to get a job, has to get a day job. And each one of them is worse than the next. She's washing houses. She's being a telemarketer for a while. She's working at the McDonald's for a while. But finally, she finds this job that isn't so bad. posing as a nude model for this artist, who she's a little bit wary of at first when she first meets him, and she's ready to just split. Like, as soon as anything starts to feel weird, I'm out of here. But he turns out to be the real deal. He's a real painter. He's just trying to paint her anatomy. He wants to paint flesh and blood. He's tired of painting landscapes and cityscapes. He wants to paint people.
And it's an adorable. They have an adorable relationship, actually, in the book, which is something I want to get into before they're hitting the lights on me. I do want to talk about this idea of selling out, and I think you were just hitting on it.
Yeah, we're already kind of touching on it here and there.
But let's grab it. Let's grab it in the buttocks. When you said you make art, for a lot of people to understand, I think a lot of people that get into making, if you're serious about it, if you're halfway serious about it, you want people to dig it, right? You want people to dig what you paint, you want people to dig the pictures that you take, you want people to dig the shitty songs that you write, whatever the fuck you do, you want people to dig it, right? And if whatever you do crosses over and you get outside of your small scene, because it doesn't take much for someone to call you a sellout. In the world that I exist in leftist podcasting,
yes,
technically this show should be selling out because I'm talking to someone that's an artist, that isn't an academic, and the book you wrote isn't about, overthrowing the capitalist superstructure. It's about
not directly anyhow, right? That's right.
But you know what I mean?
That's right. I'm entertaining people along the way, but it's definitely offering a pretty scathing critique of the economic system we find ourselves in.
I will say, Eric, you do have a very smart PR person that did hit me up because they know what kind of show we do here. So when I was approached with your book, my first question was like, "You remember the show, right?" Because I didn't know. The
very title. It's in the very name of the show, right?
They're like, "Oh yeah, no, it's cool. You'll dig it." They're like, "You'll dig it.
And well, Jason, this term of selling out, I'm not hearing it as much. I mean, I used to be accused of that, and I myself was very quick to accuse musicians of that and people of that. Mm-hmm. When I was younger, it seemed like back in the in the 70s, 80s, 90s, when Tom Morello and Zach De La Roca, signed a contract with who was it, Sony, when Rage Against the Machine went big, they're selling out. But of course, I've talked to those guys. I did an album cover for them. I've talked with Zach, and we talk about how it is a double-edged sword. Okay, in a sense, it is selling out. They're giving you money, but if they're allowing you to have your message intact, if they're not censoring the message, you could look at it or convince yourself anyway of the fact that you're communicating to more people. You have a much larger audience now. Isn't that what you wanted? I mean, you're in a more influential position.
You'd be surprised what people say when you don't do what cats think you're supposed to do. And I think the idea of selling out for me has always been, when I was younger, like you said, I was quick to be like, so-and-so is a sellout because they signed a major label deal. So-and-so is a sellout because they're playing this venue. And the more I got to know people. I used to live at a place, I don't know if you know it, in West Oakland called Soundwave Studios. It's a music rehearsal
I'm
recording
sure I've
studio.
gone past it, and I know a lot of. I have a lot
It's
of
on it's
people.
on Wood Street.
Yeah.
Unless you were doing some,
Well,
maybe you went there
Boots.
for
I'm
some.
thinking he
Okay,
stayed in
yes,
Oakland. Boots Riley.
that
You
is
know,
that's where
I've hung
Boots
out with
did.
him over the years, and
That's
he's
where Boots
managing
did
to
hella.
find the. He's finding the sweet spot between fame and success and money, and yet he's keeping his message, on point.
He's
And,
kind of a perfect example, in my opinion, because Boots actually did a lot of Sorry to Bother You at that studio. So if you know Boots, you can tell
okay.
him.
Yes.
I talked to Jason. He used to work at, be like the black guy that used to work at Soundwave. He would know exactly what you're
Okay.
talking about. Or even add, he was in a band with his wife, and then he'll be like, oh, that guy. Um, so
Right.
so he's kind of this interesting template that exists
Mhm.
almost on an island,
Mhm.
because as we say, success is relative.
That's
Um,
right.
there's some filmmakers that might not think he's successful, but you and I are going to look at him, especially me, look at a guy that was a rapper for a gajillion years, and a certain kind of rapper as well, a rapper that had a very, very upfront, not just political message, but like a Marxist message in
Overtly
the
political, yeah, like
in the
to the
90s, right?
left of what, definitely to the left of
Of
Public Enemy, to the
everything,
left of Dead Prez. I mean, Boots.
everything.
He doesn't just call himself a mark. He comes right out and says, "No, no, man, I'm a communist.
Yeah.
I'm a so that no one could red bait him because he's already announcing that in his interview. And he comes from a line of radical activists and grew up around Black Panthers and all that in
And
Oakland.
he's been able to do this thing where he can make these movies and have big time Hollywood stars in the movies.
Yes.
And again, I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a long time. Last time I talked to him was when they were made, because they'd made Sorry to Bother You, like I said, in my house for the most part, right?
Mhm.
But he was able to do another thing after that, and now he's got a new movie coming out, and he seems to be one of these people that a lot of people want to work with. I don't know how that translates into financial success. Of course, I wish him the best, and I think the fact that you can get financial success is a little different, because I think a generation prior looked at almost any kind of success outside of your milieu as selling out, and that really gets complicated with Nirvana for a lot of people.
That's
And
right.
then
That's the other
and
example. There was
and
Rage
now we're
Against the
in this.
Machine, and then Nirvana was when they signed to a
It
major
gets
label.
complicated, right? But
Yes.
I think right now we're in this moment of getting the bag, and as everybody wants to get the bag, um, we've lost the concept of selling out, so we call it something different.
Yes.
They call it grifting. In my
Yes.
world, they say so and so is making some sort of adverse political turn. And I'm like, look, if you're really going to say someone's selling out, like if tomorrow I was like, all I want to do is talk to musicians and movie makers because more people watch those shows, I'm going to get a better YouTube payout. I'm going to get more subscribers, which means I get paid on a better percentage. It just works out for me better. I'm going to lose whatever I built.
Mhm.
The few tens of thousands of subscribers I have now, all that shit goes away once I say I want to do something different, because they didn't sign up for that. So to make these pivots, there has to be a legitimate financial incentive that you can
Yes.
physically see, and not just weird ideological shifts. And
Yeah.
I think
I
with
would
with
agree. I would agree with all that.
with
Yeah.
music stuff, if you look at a band like Rage, and I don't know them, again, like I said, I only know Boots. I know Boots toured with Tom Morello, and he spoke of him very highly. They never changed the message.
That's right.
And I think the music they released at the time in which they released it and who they played with, and they didn't have to do anything, that muddied the message. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me is more like fuck you, mom, for a lot of people than it is, a middle finger to power. And also, if you think about groups like NWA and F the Police, as a friend of mine said the other day, what adolescent likes police? Like, that's not a
Yeah.
real
That's right.
political statement. But when we're lumping all these things together in the same basket as like important political music, I think that bands that actually do have a message, it gets lost in there. We're going to call them sellouts at some point because they have some sort of success. If they want to do
Mhm.
something slightly different, I mean, I'm not mad if Zach De La Rocha wants to make a rap album about talking about how fresh he is. You can't be, for 40 years. There's got to be different sides to your character, and
That's the thing. I think that
Mhm.
we can't be too pure. I mean, when we're young, certainly when I was an angry young man, I thought that and I was very pure and more ideologically uptight. Um, but I also observed a pattern on the left, and I think it's a pathology on the left, especially if you look back on the history of the left, especially in the U.S., is that we all too often ghettoize ourselves, right? We don't want, it's almost like we don't want to go out and step out into the spotlight. It's easier to sit off in the corner and be kind of mumbling and complaining about anyone who's getting any success or notoriety. Never mind the fact that even the people who are getting this economic success, it's usually not even very much. It's not as much as you would think. You would think that these
Yeah.
musicians are getting big time, but they're not really paying them all that well as you think. I guess the big sellout thing that I do in my life, as much as possible, is in the mainstream. I do album covers and magazine covers, the New Yorker magazine. I'm a regular cover artist for them. That's the most mainstream thing that I do. And that's corporate, that's the Condé Nast Corporation, But I feel like this is a way that I'm getting my I think of my magazine covers as just glorified street posters. Instead of wheat pasting them up on the brick wall at 2 a.m. of the Lower East Side or East Oakland or Mexico City, if the image, if the message is intact, if I was able to keep that much integrity and have the imagery and the social criticism intact and clear in the image, and they're willing to put that on the cover of their magazine and even pay me a little bit to help, me pay off my landlord, then it's all good as far as I'm concerned. It's not, it's all, it's win-win. It's win-win even for the public, even for a young whoever the activist, because I make it's someone was able to break through and have some social criticism in the mainstream.